today's cold opening, Maggie Roswell, after being fired, is given one more chance by her agent. If she goes to France, she could voice the French Maude Flanders, hitchhikes her way to France and gets to the French studio where she attempts to audition for the role of the French Maude Flanders. Would you rather be Maggie Roswell, her agent, or the French and American Fox executives?
I'll go for Roswell.
I thought you might. And action. Maggie, it's just not working out for you here. You're asking for all the money and you're hogging all the voices. And we just don't think it's working anymore. So we're going to kill off your characters one by one. Thank you and goodbye. We expect you to clear out your pigeonhole by the end of the day.
Is there nothing I can do to save myself?
Nope, you've blown it, Maggie.
But my request was reasonable.
You've blown it. Get out before I call the security guards. Security?
Fine.
I'm calling them. Get out.
I'll leave, but this isn't the end of me.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Maggie, I hear through the grapevine that you got your ass fired from The Simpsons, the best damn gig I ever got you.
That's true, Mark, but it was their fault, not mine.
Sounds like you were asking for an extortionate amount of money, voicing almost all of their characters.
True, but you've got to take these chances.
Listen, Lord, even you've got me going with your believability. Listen, Maggie Roswell, I've got one more gig for you. Don't blow it. I've got you a interview with the head of Fox France, Le Fox, Le Renard. Is that how they say it over there?
Yeah.
So get your ass over to the United States of France before I fire you as well.
Fine, I'll just take a flight. Oh, I've run out of money because of The Simpsons. I'll have to hitchhike to France. Can I have a lift, please, to France?
Oui.
You sound French.
Well, I am French. This is France. How did
Oh, that
you
was
get
quick.
here?
I don't remember.
Where'd you like to go? I'm just on my way to the... I'm a low-level TV executive, and I'm on my way to Paris to the French Fox network, Le Renard.
This is almost unbelievable, but that's exactly where I'm going.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, stranger.
My name is Maggie Roswell, and I am the voice of Helen Lovejoy, the gossipy minister's wife, and Maude Flanders, and Miss Hoover, Lisa's teacher, Sherry Bobbins, and I was also on something like the Bob Newhart show.
Yeah, I'm not sure what any of those words mean, but we're here now.
Merci.
Thank you to you too.
Hello, it's me, Mrs.
What?
Roswell.
Oh, bonjour, Mademoiselle Roswell. Here, I hear that you're going to try out for the French version of your most famous character, Maude Flanders.
Yes. Oui.
Here, I have some lines for you to read. Please don't blow it, because my whole reputation's staked on this.
I'll give it my best shot. I grew up in France, so this should be easy for me.
Oh, this is a no-brainer. You're going to knock this one out the park. And action.
Pensez aux enfants.
Oh, good lord, zut alors.
Oui.
Try this next one.
Neddy, j'ai à peu près tout ce que je peux prendre du torse d'Homer Simpson. Je vais chercher des hot dog.
Oh, my ears. Oh, good lord, my ears. I thought you said you knew the beautiful French language. It's like you're mangling it. Here, try this last one. And if you don't get it, you're on your way out, Roswell.
C'est pour un je vengue de jouer.
Oh, good lord. Get out. Does anyone know where we can get Mercia Turnbull?
Non sucre.
Maude! It's a Maude Good Cast, Season 4, recurring ghost from the primetime TV show, firmly established as a shameless skinny dipper with her arms leading sidely, slightly forward, eyes fuzzy. She's a cider drinker and a shameful Bible underliner. She's got a non-ultraviolet tattoo on your leg. And Tuppence, the guinea pig owner, we haven't mentioned that for a while. The Maudecast, Season 4, Episode 5, the Bongo Cast 3.
Regular normal woman voice.
Regular normal woman voice, yeah. Too late now, I've stopped sharing. You can't steal any more of my lyrics for that brilliant song that we've now sung
Easy.
35 times. Can you believe it?
BC3. I'm surprised we've got to 3 Bongo casts.
Everything about this endeavor surprises me. The fact that we just did an almost 10-minute long ambling cold opening. Who would have thought that? The fact that we're 35 episodes in. The fact 3 Bongo casts, etc., etc. Great.
Strength to strength.
Hello, Goodman, Tinker, Turnbull, Sizemore, Flanders, Morning, and Helen Lovejoy's close friend Clum desist from cramming down even a teensy bit of flesh and turkey, my cousin. Brought to you by the Mordcasting Corporation, a division of Ross Dibney Multiple Conger Eels, or is it now a division of Jaff Apples Sunderland? Yeah, woo!
Good.
Sponsor, International Clip Art Abs for all of your clip art ab needs, ladies and gents sizes. Sponsor, Verbal Persuasions. They can be self-directed, and keeping aside a few minutes a day to praise yourself and repeat affirmations like "I'm trying hard" and "I'm doing good" can immensely help. Copied that incorrectly from a completely different essay that I'm writing, but I think it works well here. Sponsor, Rolling Eyes Woman, Vivacious RuPaul Season None and Up, Nando's Curry and Baloo Eggs, and Union Jack and Devil Slayer, 4th tier Marvel hero, though recently Union Jack maybe has stepped up even to the 3rd tier.
Wow.
Got his
He'll
own
get a
comic.
movie soon. He'll get a movie. We don't have any British superheroes yet.
Well, Captain Britain, there's rumors that Captain Britain's going to pop up in Marvel Phase 4 in some way, but he's tied in to the X-Men kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be too surprised if at some point when the X-Men come in, Captain Britain, he'll be the first one who pops up. He's the only real one. Given
that Captain America is Chris Evans, do you think that Captain Britain will be our Chris Evans?
Yes, I think it's only a matter of time before Radio 2-star and Big Breakfast presenter Chris Top Gear Evans chortles his way onto the screen.
TGI Friday.
Exactly, that was his big thing, wasn't it? For all of you nostalgia lovers out there.
How about 2 numbers between 1 and 30?
How about 1 and 26?
Susan Boyle and Shell Petrol.
Yeah. Love Susan Boyle. She doesn't get enough love or mentions. Shell, take him or leave him.
They both serve their purpose.
Only one of them gets their kicks from covering bird carcasses in oil.
Exactly, and I don't trust that Shell company either.
Olive oil.
Still weird.
Still weird, isn't it? I mean, the whole idea of murdering a bird and then cooking it and then covering it and stuff and then eating it, that to me is a bit weird, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I only animals that have been in the sea because they're clean.
Yeah, so animals that were allowed to roam freely before they were murdered.
Yeah, I went back on that.
Good.
Can we jump in a little bit to Jacques? Now that Ouija board was left as his board, we can just... I've hooked up the Ouija board to basically a switch. So now instead of having to do all of the Ouija board stuff and move all that around, you basically just flip a switch and Jack will wake up and start chatting to you from beyond the grave.
Well, that's easy.
It's easy. I mean, it saves a lot of time. And to be honest, that Ouija board thing is getting old, wasn't it?
Bit tired.
Bit tired. All right, why don't you flip the switch and see what Jack has to say?
Okay, flip.
Oh, hello. Oh, I'm a bit sleepy because even beyond the grave we sleep.
I'd imagine it's all you do.
Don't be rude. We've all got full lives up here, or afterlives for now.
Good. It's our Bongo cast.
Speaking of Bongo casts, in my adolescent period, I found life in the works of philosophers such as Rousseau, Nietzsche, and Guide, and I used philosophy as an instrument of revolt against family and society. But I also read Camus and Sartre, and in the late 1940s I attended the Lycée Bougrade in Algiers. But in 1949 I moved to Paris to attend the Lycée Louis le Grand. My professor of philosophy was Etienne Born. Do you know him? At that time, I prepared for my entrance exam to the prestigious École Normale Supérieure. I failed. I did, however, pass it on my second time, was admitted in 1952. Thanks for asking.
Good. Did you meet Maggie Roswell while you were there?
God, no, I don't think she was even born. Who's
Oh, yeah.
even Maggie Roswell?
We'll get back to that. It's not for you to know right now.
Here, I've got a quote for you of mine. Would you like it?
Sure.
Il n'y a pas de texte. It's my most famous quote.
Nice. Would you say it again?
Il n'y a pas de texte.
Could you do it in a different language?
Well, fools often translated as there's nothing outside of the text, claiming that I'm saying nothing exists beyond language to fools, but actually it translates as there is no outside text.
That the second one seems more apt, I don't think. The first one is obviously wrong because of subtext. So I don't think Jacques would, I don't think you would make that mistake.
Oh, I wouldn't. But my question is, there is no outside text. How does this respond to your friend, what this show is supposedly about?
Well, it's incorrect for us specifically because we are actively this week looking at outside texts that she is relevant in. And yeah, outside text is one of the best parts. That's how we are part of the outside text of Maude. Now, yeah, if we just had the show to go off, we would have missed so much beautiful content.
I'm glad to see, Nathan, that you're not a fool and you understand, Jack. But I'm fading now. Oh, I've got to go for my tea. Oh.
Nice guy.
He's a nice guy, isn't he? You know, he's glad that he comes on and tells us all about his time. I mean, I don't know if that's fun for anyone else, but for me, that's great. That's the best stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, the Derrida cast.
I'm all for a Jacques Derrida cast. Hands up who wants to do a Derrida cast. Let's take a vote right now. 100%. 100% of presenters would like to do Derrida cast. Okay. Now, we are now sat in our trolley. And Jeff Apple arrived last week, but he's gone off to buy some strawberries. I will catch up with him later, but give me a number between 1 and 300 for the Maude Etorium.
163.
You got your wish. 163. Badly drawn Maudes, better drawn Maudes post-season.
Exactly. Post-season, or was there a number there?
Probably a number at some point. That makes a lot more sense. What number would you put there?
Like 20.
Really?
Yeah, I still think there's an opportunity because until they go to HD, I'm pretty sure it's still all hand. I know it's like after like season 10 or something, they started digitally painting stuff, but I'm pretty sure they still hand drew a lot of stuff. So you still see a lot of wacky Maude faces. So I would say around 20 is when they brought the HD in. So from there, but I will pull together a compilation of our best Maude faces because there's some good ones from last week when she looks particularly like the baby bird face you were talking about. Zoomed in, looked particularly weird. There's some good ones in this as well.
I'd be happy to do an entire episode on badly drawn Maude faces. I think that would be a whole lot of fun. Maybe after the Derrida cast episode.
Creed, Derrida, Maude faces. There's 100 ways we can delay the content of this podcast.
But I'll just make it better when we eventually 1 century later get to it. But I wondered if Maude was particularly drawn badly in comparison to other characters, or is it just that if you did this about any character, you'd find a whole bunch of real bad drawings of them?
Both, because particularly if someone's from a distance, they obviously don't try as hard because there's no need to. So there's a lot of poor looking characters when they're from kind of far away, but Maude has more design than quite a few characters. So you put Maude and Marge next to each other. Maude has more lines, and I don't know, Marge, you could pretty much, she's a straight line, and Maude has more detail and lines to add. I even like the cardigan with the buttons. So I think there's more opportunity for Maude to be drawn worse. But it's only the same for Helen, I would say, and a few other ladies. But the worse, the better, really.
The worse, the better, really. Oh, look, Jeff's back from the shop with some strawberries.
Oh, good.
Hey there, boys. I was thinking that, in our trolley tonight, we could have some strawberries for tea.
Okay. Can we have some this time?
You can have the green bits, just like last time. Now, I want to get a good 9 hours sleep, so I'm going to sleep now, and I think you should do the same.
Well, we have a podcast to do.
I'm not making any demands, but I'm your boss. So, you know, as soon as you're done. So I've bought this thing off my Sunderland website, and it's a homemade Balearic chamber.
Hold on 1 second. My mum's just ringing.
That's your mom ringing.
Oh, I think she's trying to buy me a jacket.
Jacket purchase is pretty high up there on the list after Earthfire. Shall we get back on with
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Did you see that picture I've just sent you?
Yeah, I've just seen it now.
Well, it's two times extra large.
Jesus.
So I get it, because I just thought you can bring it back if it doesn't fit. We only got that one, and it's nice. It's an Avis card one, and it's like them as you wear, and it looks like it's a bit longer.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Alright.
See you in a bit, love you.
Love you, bye.
Bye. Cameo.
So guys, I bought a homemade Balearic chamber for me to sleep in, like Michael Johnson used to. So if you duct tape this plastic bag to around my head, and if you, the other boy, if you can use this bicycle pump to pump air into the plastic bag so I don't suffocate while I'm sleeping. And what this will do is will add minutes or days to my life in the long term. And I think that's good for all of humanity.
I would be inclined to agree. Don't try this at home, but I would be inclined to agree. I don't mind. But what if I fall asleep? Aren't you going to just suffocate?
Yeah, that's why it's really important that you stay awake the whole night.
You did just tell me to go to bed after this podcast.
Listen, man, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I would like to point out that I'm your boss.
It's twice you've told me that now.
Go to sleep now. Make sure I get enough oxygen to stay alive, and also for me to rejuvenate all my cells one by one. Good night.
Good night.
Well, now that Jeff's asleep, shall we get on with the content of the show?
Let's do it. I find it interesting that he has to still make purchases from his own website.
Yeah, he's probably subverting it through some kind of wacky tax loophole.
Yeah, he has all those stacks of money on our Cayman Islands database.
Well, he did, but now it's just a big pile of money in a hole. But you know,
Yeah.
like the KLF in it. First up.
I also, before you begin, actually,
Yeah.
I found the actual comic.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Why don't you give people a bit of context for today's show?
We're back into Bongo world, and one of them is possibly her biggest role, probably a biggest role in the comics, but she's sort of the central woman for like the first third of that comic. Then she vanishes, and yeah, two very small appearances that are quite just fun to look at.
So the first
That's it.
one here, panel 1, clip 1. Simpsons Comics presents Bart Simpson, number 42, Battle of the Plexes. So we have what looks like Mo throwing sweets at everybody, and is Milhouse's dad there? We got a young Cletus. Oh, Mo, by the way, is a child in this. Looks like he's about 6 or 7 years old. Throwing candy. Is that Sarah Wiggum?
Yeah, there's a few telling. I think that's Luann.
Yeah.
And Sarah Wiggum. I believe Miss Hoover is just behind her, but I've kind of cut her off. Denise and Lindsay and Brandine from the looks of things.
Cletus and young Mo are throwing sweets at these girls, and we have our first ever picture of Maude as a child, which suggests that at least in the Bongo verse, she was raised in Springfield or visited, which is an intriguing proposition. And of course, this predates the blue eyeshadow, as she's a small child, but her clothes look very, very similar. She has a slightly shorter skirt, but other than that, her hair and her costume, her clothes, very, very similar. We get a classic side of the face shot, and she's running away from these sweets, but the boys seem to be happy to pelt the sweets at the other girls. But the way this picture has been clipped, it's hard to know what else is going on. There's somebody in a little green suit being held by their father, and there's a man who looks like some kind of detective who's making a phone call, possibly. It's really kind of hard to tell what's going on in this picture, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a rare one because this is something I'd never seen before until doing this podcast research, which doesn't happen a lot. I probably should have just put the full picture in. That's definitely Frink's dad. And from the looks of things, it looks like Burns' suit, but I don't know how that would make any sense. It looks like a small Mr. Burns, but he would be older than Frink's dad in this. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, does this officially count as canon for young Maude? Because I'm on board with it, except for the clothing. She's not as lazy as Bernice. Bernice is still dressed in her. I saw her name yesterday. I can't remember it, but like Clarice Huxtable. Like she's still in like an 80s power suit as like a 7-year-old girl. Sarah Wiggum and Lindsay and Cletus and Mo have all got completely new outfits. So Maude and Bernice, and from the looks of things, Brandine got shafted a little bit here because they haven't changed. It makes more sense that Maude hasn't changed throughout her entire life. It's not out of character, but the hair looks a bit longer. I've written that she looks shocked at first, and then the second one, the smaller one, it's like a typical Maude face.
I agree. I think in the first one we get this kind of bright-eyed shock that we don't see too often, but yes, in the second one it's more like the low-key Maude that we know and love. What's going on in this picture, though? Do you have any context? Is it actually cut off, or have you cropped this?
I've cropped it. I think it was a full page panel, maybe.
Okay.
But I don't know. This is past my time in terms of Simpsons comics and stuff. I don't even know how it works. It's like a spin-off, like the Bart Simpson comics are different to the Simpsons comics, but the fact that they got up to 42 issues is interesting. I've never seen any of them, so yeah, I had no idea because Bart Simpson has no connection to this whatsoever. Yeah, I got nothing. I got absolutely no context for this.
So Battle of the Plexes, right? Plexes, does that mean multiplex, like a cinema?
Yeah, that's the only context I have is they're in the cinema.
Okay, and Battle of the Sexes would make sense that there's a boys versus girls fight inside the cinema, but obviously this is a flashback, so a lot of fun there. We can only conjecture what kind of madness could have gone on in there.
Yes, I will say,
yeah,
my logic for her being there, if Sarah wouldn't have been in shot, it would have been slightly more difficult to place, but Sarah Wiggum's there, so we can easily say that Maude is just on a day trip with her cousin.
Yes, and we are saying that Sarah, who we have said is her cousin in canon, and we were simply waiting for the Simpsons TV show. Is that Ian Maxton Graham over there in the bushes?
Looks like he's making notes.
He looks like he's making notes. So hopefully this stuff will show up. Ooh, hey, Ian. Hopefully this stuff will show up in season 23 or 24. 34, ka-ching, 33 or 34 of the Simpsons TV show.
It could be Malali.
Clip 2. Before we get to the big main event, we've got this other one that you've said is Simpsons Comics 41, so just one issue before. Oh, no, because that's Bart's comic, isn't it? This is the original Simpsons comic. Bart Simpson and the Krusty Brand Fun Factory, fine, and it looks like there's a full-on factory, but there's a prison behind it. You have put helpfully the comment at the bottom, parody of the movie Schindler's List. Is that a joke, or is this comic strip a parody of Schindler's List?
No, it was deep sarcasm.
Okay.
There's a few anything where it was too blatant what it was, and I had nothing else to write. I just lied.
Okay,
there's a few more of them.
Is this a Willy Wonka thing then?
Yes, it is. Just basically, I remember this from being a kid. Actually, I enjoyed this comic quite a lot. I remember taking it on holiday and stuff. I enjoyed it that much. So it's sort of vaguely familiar. I remember Sideshow Bob having something to do with it, which is why I think the prison's there. What I can't explain is why Homer's in a dress.
Homer's dressed as a woman with Barney, which maybe suggests that he's pulled some trick to get a golden ticket that involves Barney, but I'm not sure why that would be necessary. Snake is there with Nelson. Grandpa Simpson has Bart with him. Clancy with Ralph.
Oh, yeah. That would make a lot of sense. They are the
who got the golden tickets, but then I guess that makes sense if those are the 6 that are going in. Oh, that's only 4. I don't quite get it. Maybe we can give the people some context who are just listening via audio. So they are at the gates of some kind of factory / castle that has Krusty's face on the front, and it says Krusty's and the gates, and Troy McClure is on a stage saying, "Welcome to the Krusty Brand Fun Factory Pre-Tour Extravaganza Show." Yeah, there's all these people rating the red tape. And then just right at the very edge of the screen of the shot, we get Ned, a classic three-quarters back of the Ned shot, and a full-on side view of Maude, just standing there, kind of smiling and looking at this going on in front of her.
Super ducky.
She's really quite ducky, yes.
This is a strange one. I suppose it's different with the comics because you don't have to animate anything, obviously. But it's weird that she will show. There's a few of these where she will just show up in one panel and have nothing to do with. I know she turns up in like crowd scenes, but you know she'll be around for a couple of minutes. But obviously with this, it's just this like one panel. This is her only investment in this. True to style, she doesn't have any participation in it. She's just there for the first part, and this might be the only time Maude and Troy McClure share a scene.
Love Hartman, great. And so Troy could have continued in the comics well after he stopped appearing in the TV show.
I believe he does, and I believe similarly, Doris and Lionel also continue to talk, and they can use Sideshow Bob a lot more. And when Roswell quit, I think, hell, it was the only place like Hell and Luann and Miss Hoover could talk for a few years. So I think it applied to them as well.
But interesting, Maude died in the TV show, but stayed dead in the comics.
Yes, but the time delay is off. Are there any famous Maude Flanders quotes?
No, when I looked for that cold opening earlier, famous Maude Flanders quotes, the only one I got was the quote about the footlongs.
Oh, yeah.
So I threw in think of the children and the vengeful God. I can't judge Marge and Homer. That's for a vengeful God to do. I guess that's...
Yeah, I would say that was probably the most iconic Maude line. Speaking of Luann, she looks weird here. She looks too wide and her clothes are wrong.
If she's standing with wide-eyed gaspiration, if that is in fact a word. But everyone else seems just mildly amused, other than Cletus, who also has his mouth open, but he's a slack jaw.
Willie looks angry, but really. I'm interested to zoom in on that because it looks like it's going to be a really bad image.
I can zoom in a little.
Yeah.
Zoom in a little bit. Are you still You're still staring at the screen, right? You can still see this, right?
Yes.
It is a bad Willie. It's a bad Willie. And what about this here? Is this a floating face?
I assume that green thing is the body.
Maybe. All in all, the kind of shoddy workmanship we would expect from the Bongo cast. And Maude doesn't get to go into the factory. She may have brought the kids if they're just hiding off shot, but it seems like most of the kids in here get some nice things to do. Like Ralph's very excited. But not the Flanders kids. Do you think she decided not to bring them along and they're just at home, or are they just off shot?
I imagine they're somewhere else, because if she doesn't allow them to have sugar, this would just be a mean thing to do. I'm assuming that this factory is food-based, though, and it might not be. I can't remember. But I don't think she'd have an interest in going in there anyway.
There's a river of brown slop coming out the side here, and you would imagine the Krusty Brand Fun Factory does sell food, but it could also be making cheap plastic tat and using prisoners as low-income 13 cents an hour labor. And maybe that's how Sideshow Bob gets into the story.
That seems correct.
Where I'd go with it if I was forced to write this kind of garbage in a couple of hours. Good work so far. But now we're moving on to the main event for today. It is a full-on strip called Fallen Flanders. So what we have here is we have Maude, Rod and Todd. They're on a camping trip. They're by a fire, and they are in silhouette, and they are cowering in fear. Maude is in absolute terror, and so are the boys, as Ned is kind of over them with the light coming up on him in full-on classic horror show. It's dark, they're in the woods, and Ned is saying, "Gosh darn diddly woman, you've ruined everything." And he has a very sharp kind of pitchfork. One of the little pitchforks for toasting marshmallows. He's got one of those anyway.
Yes, a prong, perhaps. Great bold opening. for a Maude story. Is she overreacting or is he angry? This is where things are left to interpretation due to it being a comic, because we can't hear how he says that line. So we don't know if he looks really angry. But is she doing a typical Flanders overreaction, or is he actually fully screaming at the three of them?
I mean, the boys look terrified as well, but they could be reacting to Maude's overreaction.
Yeah, they're terrified of everything. I also like the fun scout get-up.
So he's wearing the scout outfit, and the boys have got the little scout outfits on. Maude has a version of her outfit in a scouty kind of manner that we'll get to see more in the next panel. And she's also wearing some pretty cool shorts and some kind of Converse style sneakers. We haven't seen that kind of fashion from Maude before.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Back on the ascots though, she seems to like an ascot in the Bongo cast.
She does, and this is I mean, it's par for the course in a scout's uniform, but still,
Yeah.
she's pushing it with aplomb.
She is. She's serving it.
So we find out that this is taking place on Saturday, August 12th at the time of 9:30 p.m. in the Jebediah Springfield National Park. So what got into them that let them have the kids stay up so late?
Yeah, in the woods. It's probably because it's a Saturday, but it's not out of character for Ned to be into camping because he has been a scout leader. But camping doesn't seem to me like a very Flanders activity. It seems sort of too scary, especially in the woods in the middle of nowhere. Like, fair enough on like a correct campsite or something for the Flanders, but just in the middle of the forest, I don't buy it.
One, isn't it? Do we find out more about where they are a little later? Maybe.
They're just in the Jebediah Springfield Forest National Park.
National Park, so it is a kind of place where people camp. It's not the wilds.
Yeah, I suppose that's not as intense as a forest.
Yes, camping in the national park, a lot of fun. Get on. Maude flips it around and she's wagging her finger at Ned. Please, Ned, such language in front of the children. Now, what did I do that was so terrible? Rod and Todd have now calmed down and are staring blankly into space. Maude, she's enraged.
I just wrote good for her. I don't know whether the heck he gets off. He's never spoken to her like this over anything. And we'll find out in a minute why. But yeah, what did she do that was so terrible? She's obviously being a bit, here's my internal monologue about Maude and Bongo made external. They have no character traits for her whatsoever. They just have taken the brief thing of, oh, Ned's wife, she's religious. She, like the big moments, like the no sugar, or like the quotes we were just on about, they will just take that and apply it directly. So her saying such language in front of the children, whilst it's not out of place, it's not particularly interesting.
The Bongo cast is not about nuance.
No,
It's
very in your face.
Very in your face and radical. They
also don't seem to be able to get Rod's hair right. Do you think it's a colouring thing? Because most times we've seen Rod, he's had the incorrect hair.
It's the changing hair that gets me. I think in this one, at least, they managed to keep the same pen for all of the pictures.
Yeah.
So we get Ned, who's very, very irked, and he shouts, "Oh, come on, mother." Never heard him refer to Maude as mother. That's a generic family oldie-timey thing, isn't it? You know darned well that you can't make s'mores without delicious chocolate, and you forgot to bring it. He's got some marshmallows, and he's got some Grammys in his hand, ready to make some good old-fashioned American s'mores.
Again, who the hell is this guy? You forgot to bring it. There's 4 of them there. Also, they missed a trick. This just because we looked at it last week, it would have been funny to have it be like Allied Biscuits or Table Time. But this might have been before. I was going to look at the dates before we did this, and then I just didn't. This is very early, though. This is like issue 11 of the Simpsons comics, so it must be like 99, something like that. So it's roughly around the same time as the stuff we're looking at. So yeah, it's not out of insane realms of possibility. But yeah, I'm surprised they even know what s'mores are.
Well, I mean, it's a very sugar-based snack, what with it having chocolate and marshmallows in it. So it's not really in keeping with their rationale. And yeah, it seems out of character for everyone. It's somewhat generic. But then we get a close-up of Maude's mouth. Never seen such a thing before in our lives. With a little pointy, dainty nose. It's well drawn, won't argue. And Maude, problem solver that she is, shouts, well, just sandwich the marshmallows between the graham crackers and call it something else. Very sassy.
Yeah, I did question the weird mouth angle. I don't know what that's for. Surely seeing her eyes would have shown you how she was saying this line. They're probably the same as that, but the next panel they've changed. Also, I think do you think the mother thing was Freudian, or do you think he was just like a weak insult?
No, I think it's more like, you know, when oldie-timey fellas are out with their family and they refer to their wives as mother.
Oh, yeah, I see. That makes more sense for them. Yeah, weird choice.
I've never seen an interaction in the Flanders family quite as aggressive and open as this. It would usually be a little bit more, it might still be as tense, because this is by all accounts a very tense interaction. But has Jeff stopped breathing there? Have you been pumping him with the air pump?
A bit. He's twitching, but he's okay.
He's okay. So anyway, we go on to Ned, and Ned's doing the old thumb point, you know, this guy kind of thumb point, and he shouts back at Maude, blasphemy. A Flanders camperoonie without s'mores is like Christmas without figgy pudding. And Maude looks like she's realized how grave her error is, and she's a little bit concerned now.
She's probably used to Ned backing down at this point. Usually when they're arguing, he's not this angry. Yeah, I don't like who Ned is. Well, this comic ultimately, like, Ned is a doppelganger for the real Ned. And until looking at this properly now, I thought like, oh, that's why he was being so rude to Maude at the start. But at this point, he's not a doppelganger. So he is just being an arsehole.
Just a ganger.
And yeah, the Christmas without figgy pudding seems weird as well. That's not what Christmas would be about for them. It's about the ponies.
It would be at the point, imagine they would have some figgy pudding as a traditional kind of Christmas food.
Yeah. Isn't saying that what she's saying is blasphemy? Isn't that in itself blasphemy?
I did get that. I thought Ned wouldn't say that her asking him to make a s'more without chocolate is blasphemy. No, he wouldn't go there. Surely not.
No.
Wouldn't use that kind of rhetoric just to get one back at his good lady wife.
I agree.
So we get a middle distance Maude silhouetted again, saying, "Sigh, Ned, where are you going?" And Ned is storming off into the bushes with his torch, and he says, "I need to blow off some steam. I'm going to find myself a nice piece of knotty pine and do some hardcore whittling." We got a rabbit there peeping at him, and some mysterious eyes in the bushes.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if the eyes were relevant or just like a weird touch because they're in the creepy forest. Yeah, I really like that weird sort of affirmative olive oil stance that she's doing. She looks like she's got really bendy arms. And yeah, not a lot of face detail, which again will be fun to look at up close.
Let's do it.
Her hair's super short as well.
Yeah, she's got empty dead eyes. It's a good one.
Yeah, no pupils.
No pupils. And her hair is quite short in this all the way through. Not a flashback, though, because we know the boys are there and they're at the same age. So then we go forward to August the 31st, a mere week after my birthday. Now, hold on. August the 12th, and then sets off into the forest. And have we missed some panels here in between?
No, that is the exact next part.
All right. So what we've got here is some extremely bad drawings. So we've got a very badly drawn Maude dabbing her face with a tissue and mourning, as are Rod and Todd. A weirdly drawn Wiggum is cooking some kind of donut over a fire, and Lovejoy is relaxing on a recliner or whatever that is called, and he's using one of those mirror things to shine up the sun into his face. It says August the 31st, 2:47 p.m. and Lovejoy says, Now, Maud, 3 weeks isn't that long for Ned to be missing. Remember, the Lord works in his own time. And Wiggum said, he's right. An experienced junior camper leader could live for weeks in these woods, and there's a whole forest full of nuts and berries out there, and most of them aren't all that poisonous.
Lovejoy isn't this cold. It's been 3 weeks. He's been missing. It's not like he's acting as if Maud is overreacting to this, but he has been missing for 3 weeks. It's surprising that they never talk about this again, because that's a long time to go missing, and for your wife and 2 children to think you're dead. And Lovejoy is basically just not bothered at all that Ned's missing. I know he doesn't like Ned, but does he dislike Ned this much?
It's hard to say. Neither of them is are particularly caring about it, and it is in line with the Bongos. Kind of does seem to have way more of a laid-back attitude towards these kind of constant dramas that are happening.
Yeah, and Todd appears to have Skinner's face. Is my favourite part of this.
Rod's eyes, pretty good. Bad drawings. All in all, this panel looks like they just got the cleaning lady in to have a go for a panel. It's like, you know,
the park rangers.
The worst that could happen.
The park ranger's nose isn't like any Simpson character's nose I've ever seen.
No, he's very Muppet Show.
Yeah.
The Eagle off Muppet Show. Sam the Eagle. And then this car.
Oh, yeah. That's probably Wiggum's, but why is it not a police car?
No, all kinds of weird perspectives. It looks like he's got about 3 or 4 different views of the car happening at the same time.
And the tyres for the car are the same size as Wiggum's donut.
Yeah, and donuts, you don't cook donuts over the fire. So I think we're being a little bit hypercritical of this picture, but it is asking for it, to be honest. As we get the next panel, which is back to, pretty decent drawings, and we get more dabbing her eye with a tissue and saying, sob, sniff, I haven't given up hope. It's just we had an ARGUEMENT that night, and I feel like it's all my fault.
She's obviously genuinely worried here, or is she acting? I believe that she's worried. I don't think she doesn't want them to turn around and say, this wasn't your fault. I don't think that's the intention that she has here. And spelling out the word argument is, I'm assuming, a callback to when her and Krusty have the sex cauldron bit. And again, just pulling out, Maud spells things out that she doesn't want to say. So we'll have her spell out the word argument.
Yeah, and it's the classic generic trope as well of spelling things out. But argument doesn't seem like the kind of thing she would spell out.
It's very long to be spelling the entire word argument out. She could have just said fight and saved herself 4 letters.
Yeah, spat.
Tiff.
Oh.
Just do. We had a do.
He had a do or a to-do.
But yeah, she's obviously rightly worried here.
She's rightly concerned, and in many ways she did cause it, but also Ned's got to take some responsibility for it as well. He wasn't without blaming this s'mores incident earlier.
No, he was a baby.
Whatever his name is, the policeman, Wiggum, comes over with a donut that's now smoking and puts his hand on Maud's shoulder and says, don't blame yourself, Mom. We all have our family squabbles, and Ned did the right thing by taking time out to cool off. Things could have gotten very ugly. This doesn't seem to help, and now Maud is absolutely distraught. Possibly. I don't think I've ever seen her quite so upset.
No, she's like blowing her mouth with a tissue and everything. Her makeup seems intact, though. I suppose she's not wearing any eye makeup, but she does look tired and sad. And I like that Wiggum clearly doesn't know who she is here. Or he's just being polite, at least calling her Mom. But they are somewhat related, so he is helping on a family matter here.
They are, but he doesn't know. He doesn't seem to know that they're related. Or he's forgotten.
It implies that Maude and Sarah had some kind of falling out.
We've never seen them together. They haven't been close, but is that Ian Maxton? He seems to be recording us with some kind of MP3 player.
He looks excited.
Yeah, Maud and Sarah, they haven't got along since for a long time. So I'd like maybe in a diary today, if we get one, we'd hear a little bit more about this spat, tiff, or to do.
I'm just hoping for 2 episodes in a row to cover it, but that's never going to happen. So let's move on to...
Oh, he's gone. I see he's running off. He seems to have his phone in his hand and pants around his ankles.
Excitable.
The excitable Ian Maxton Graham.
Exactly.
We cut to a horrifically drawn Ralph Wiggum with armbands and a rubber ring, who says, "Hi, Daddy. Can I go for a swim while they look for the dead guy?" And Maude gasps. This is the best panel in today. This is getting my gold panel award.
Excellent. Her gasp is very on brand, and Ralph looks like the kind of kid that could be referred to in the north as England as chippy tits.
But of course, that's not politically correct anymore, surely.
No, you'd think not, but yeah, it's a really bad Ralph. But I like it a lot.
He definitely is out there on a wacky ledge. And what about Maud's little pointy fingers? Because most of the Simpsons, even Simpsons ladies, I think they have these kind of like sausagey fingers, but hers are little sharp little fingers.
Yeah, they're quite Wolverine or kind of like Nosferatu fingers. She looks very skeletal, but I imagine it's supposed to be dainty rather than sharp.
So then a dog pops up and throws what seems to be a piece of wood with a carved head of Ned Flanders on it. Clunk, it goes onto the ground as Police Chief Wiggum shouts, "Heavens to Betsy!" And then we see a face-forward Wiggum, Maude, and Lovejoy. Actually, from the perspective of the piece of wood, we look up. Wiggum says, "It's a giant cocktail toothpick." Lovejoy says, "It's a sign from God." And a tearful, wacky-mouthed Maude, they just didn't know how to draw that mouth. "It's one of Ned's whittle sticks," she says.
This gets my gold panel for my favourite, specifically Maude. This is my favourite Maude that we've looked at today. I like it. It's cool. Lovejoy's pretty cool as well. Don't know who the dog is. Doesn't look like a search dog. And I find it quite hard to believe that if Ned was going to whittle something, he would whittle himself. Like Jesus and Landers or Maude, but not himself. And the fact that they're going to, in the next panel, say it's one of Ned's whittle sticks, they don't need you to instantly see that and think, oh, that's what that is. So they could have done anything with it. Also, we learned that he's a whittler. So is he whittling? Are they co-making these wind chimes?
It'd be very interesting to see them whittled with the heads of the family and chiming away in the garden. It's a real disappointment that we didn't get to see more of that side of the Flanders family.
No. Well, who knows? Maybe we will.
Maybe we will, Ian. Maybe we will.
Exactly.
So, a very skinny looking Lovejoy, eyes closed, and he looks like somebody, but I can't tell who he looks like. He's got Easy Bake SPF 2, so that's not going to give him a lot of protection from the sun. But anyway, he shouts, "I believe a conciliatory prayer is in order, but first I must anoint myself with oil," kind of sun oil. Ha ha ha. Almighty Ra, or I mean, dear Heavenly Father, he starts. Ra, of course, being the Egyptian god of the sun, a religious joke. Sun Ra.
Yes.
Love Sun Ra. Any Sun Ra fans out there?
Hopefully.
And then Maude on her knees screaming James T. Kirk style up at the stars, "Ned, my darling, where are you?" she screams. Again, we're seeing lots of things here that I've never seen before. Have we ever heard Maude scream and shout before? The boys, very badly rendered, are hugging each other like little goblins, like little Rod and Todd hobgoblins there. Where are those kids? I haven't heard any hide nor heard them for months.
They took Todd Rodman to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower and the studio where Maggie Roswell records French Maude.
Interesting, very good.
What's Lovejoy on? What's going on? As lazy and uncaring as he is, he's never been this bad. He just forgot who God was.
Either that or
pretty.
Secretly he's worshipping the sun, and he realized that just in time that he can't say it out loud.
I did forget that Ra was the sun god, so that sort of makes more sense that he's been tanning this whole time and now he's talking about Ra. It's not completely out of the realms of insanity, but he's doing a really bad job. And Rod and Todd now both have Skinner's face, and this is the most animated / loud that we've probably ever seen her, is what I also said. That stance, look at her hands. Everything about it is over the top.
It is that Shatner, right? Is it the Shatner reference? The
McCann.
You see a lot, or is it a reference to something else, or is it just a generic shouting at the sky kind of thing?
I think it's probably referencing the trope more than anything. I kind of got the Stella thing from a streetcar named Desire for some reason, which Ned has also shouted. So that's what I thought they were going for.
Maybe. To watch that episode of Seinfeld where Elaine does it. I think it's the one where she's on some kind of relaxant or something, where she's stoned or something, and she's at Jerry's dad's presentation, the one with the space pen, and she's shouting, Stella!
I don't remember that.
I think he introduced, Jerry's dad introduces someone called Stella, and Elaine just starts shouting Stella.
That's good.
It is great. All right, we got a long way to go on this, and the drawing, I've got to say, is getting worse. Panel.
Yeah.
No. So we're in church. I'm guessing they're burying Ned, and we got some signs saying "Bon Voyage, The Simpsons," and you've got Ned's carved stick, and on there, does it say something? Goodbye, Neddy. Oh, it says Oakley Dokley on the panel, and the stick is actually, you can see it better now. But as you go here, you zoom in and you see on the very first row is Maude dressed completely in black and crying and dabbing her eyes. Rod and in black suits on the front row. Edna Krabappel sat next to them, arms folded, glaring. Simpsons behind in what has to be the worst drawing of Bart and Homer outside of that T-shirt that I bought in Malta.
That looks dead. And why is Homer dressed as like a watcher from Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
All right, yeah, or as an old-timey, soup salesman. Look at Margie's hair. It's like twice as long as her body. Yeah. Maggie's hat is 5 times as big as her head. It all in all, look at that Mo.
Look at Krusty. Krusty's furious.
He's furious. All in all, I gotta say, if I'm handing out awards for the worst piece of artwork, this has got to be in there. The stained glass.
Sideshow Mel isn't wearing a shirt.
Lovejoy now back in full control. Look at the microphone. That's a shiny microphone. Friends, we're gathered here today not to mourn the passing of our brother Ned Flanders, but to rejoice he's drawn into the bosom of the Lord. I'll give him that one. That is on message.
Yeah. This is our 3rd Flanders funeral. We haven't looked at the Maude one yet, but this is our 2nd Ned Flanders funeral. Do not mistake coincidence for fate. That same note also applies to the fact that out of every single person they could have picked, Edna is on the front row of that wedding, of that funeral. Which again, yeah, just these are the weird little things that I like that are obviously unintentional, but to us that is now. That's both of his wives sat there. But why at the time, when they had no connection to each other, was Edna chosen to be sat on the front row of this funeral? But Maude is dressed more tastefully at this funeral than she was at the Treehouse of Horror funeral. So she's just wearing like a pink, like we said about Bernice Hibbert before, like that kind of suit, like a power suit to Ned's funeral. So she's got a nice little hat here, and everybody except for Homer and Sideshow Mel are dressed appropriately.
Edna's not very happy about this either.
No, she looks bored, but again, why she didn't have to go there?
I mean, the pews are decidedly empty considering how many people.
Yeah, and given Krusty's Jewish and Apu's Hindi, and they're both there, so where's the rest of the town?
Yes, so Hindu, Jewish, Mo. Do we know what Mo is? Is he Christian?
He was born a snake handler and he'll die a snake handler.
So yeah, the rest of them, they're in the right place, but weird. It's good that Apu and Krusty have gone outside of their religions to pay their respects. Good on you. So then we got Ned comes in, country Ned, all scratched up, and shouts. He comes in from the back of the church. Hey, diddly ho, fellow worshippers! Why all the tears and snuffles? And we've got a woman who we don't know in a pink leisure suit. And is that some variation on Hibbert? It's hard to say. It's badly drawn, but he's wearing some kind of purple suit. Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Looks like Hibbert. Looks like a flashback Hibbert. I've only just realised now that it doesn't say Hi Dilly HQ, and that's a comma. I was trying to work out what that meant.
Hadley HQ is a good statement, but Hadley Ho does make more sense.
There must have been a sign outside saying funeral of Ned Flanders, and he's just walked in. He can see his wife and kids on the front row in black outfits. He can see a coffin that has a sign saying farewell Ned on it and his whittling stick. And he's saying, what's up? Why is everybody crying?
Yeah, one can only assume that he's, he's kind of saying, hey, why all the tears? It's me. I'm here, hey, it's a joke kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a prank.
It's a prank you. And so we cut to the next panel where Maude is shouts Ned, and she's happy. She's wearing black lipstick, black eyeshadow,
red lipstick, but yeah, it looks like black eyeshadow.
Red lipstick, black
or just
eyeshadow.
thick lines. It's probably just thick lines.
Black outfit, but yeah. And so as you'd expect, Rod and Todd shout "Daddy," and they're running towards him. And Marge pointing, he's alive. And Reverend Lovejoy in the background, they're looking quite surprised and playing an accordion now.
Yeah, and again, I don't think we've missed anything.
Yeah. Does Lovejoy play an accordion in the actual show at any point?
Oh, yeah, sorry, no, we missed 2 panels. He was going to perform a rendition of Nearer My God to Thee after Homer laughed because Lovejoy said bosom, and Bart is asleep at least.
Okay.
Todd's way happier than Maude and Rod. It might be unfair to say that because this is a static panel and Todd was first one out, but Rod isn't even saying anything. He's just sat in the chair like, oh, yay. Maude's on her way up to be excited, but Todd got there first, so Todd wins. Does
that hold true to you for what you know and believe about how much the Flanders family loves Ned? Is that the correct order?
I don't think so. I think Todd is more Maude and Rod is more Ned in show, I would say.
Okay.
I don't know, actually. No, that might be wrong. You do see Todd and Ned together a lot early on. I'm going to go back on that and say yes.
So we cut to Bart, who says, don't be so sure, Mum. He could be a flesh-eating zombie. Homer, dapper Homer, slaps his head with a whap and says, "Oh, I knew it was too good to be true. Does this mean I don't get to keep his motorhome?" Homer, his family still owns that, says someone off screen. And then, gee willikers, me familia. If I knew I'd get this kind of welcome, I'd have gotten lost in the woods before. Maude is doing a full-on hug, Amanda hug and kiss. And Rod has now managed to get there and he shouts, "Oh, Daddy, we missed you so much." But Todd's already in there with the hug.
Yeah, Rod's finally decided to speak up now. Rod looks much smaller than Todd here, which is strange. She looks appropriately thrilled. Me familia confused me a lot. But then I realised that he is now a clone, so it makes a bit more sense that they're trying to make it obvious that it's not Ned. Motorhome reference. The Flanders still have this motorhome that we may or may not see. And I don't know who the other guy is, but I like the Jasper. Jasper looks happy that the family are reunited.
It's a good Jasper. We do know that Jasper was the one who sold their house, so he has some history. It's a good drawing.
Yeah.
It's a good Jasper.
Yeah, but Maude looks suitably thrilled.
So, maybe she's feeling like all of the bad stuff is now beyond them. Then we get a roaring sound coming from Ned's stomach. Golly, listen to my rumbly rumble. I'm so hungry I could eat a whole box of communion wafers. This shocks Maude. She puts her hand to her mouth. And the boys are also quite shocked as we cut to the church, who have now turned to look at him. And there's a very messy set of wreaths on that altar. And everybody's looking and staring at Ned as if something's happened, but nothing has happened.
No, they must all be shocked at that wafer bit. I looked at the picture before I read that, and I just made the note that why is she so stunned that he's hungry? And then I realised that she's stunned at the wafers thing, which makes more sense. Yeah, he's walked into this church and there was literally a big picture of him hanging up in front of a coffin. And he's still like, what's wrong, everybody? The 6 people that you can see there are sort of all relevant to the Maudecast, or have been in the last couple of Maudecasts. You got Edna, you got Luann and Lovejoy and Milhouse, who are currently playing a role, and then you got wife of Sarah Wiggum, Chief Wiggum, male wife of Sarah Wiggum.
You are my wife. His wife has a camera. This kid was shouting that today. Her wife has a camera. He didn't know the word.
Right.
So he was shouting wife.
I see.
Yeah,
Like a Millhouse.
You think you would ever eat a box of communion wafers if one was available to you?
I think I would. I think they're quite tasty.
They're kind of dry and they got a weird kind of taste. It's been quite a while since I ate one, but I don't think I would enjoy eating a box.
I wouldn't order it at a restaurant, but I wouldn't turn it away at the same time.
I wonder if you can buy them online.
Probably. I think you have to get the priest to spit on them
Well,
to
he
get
has
them
to
all
bless them,
forward.
doesn't he? But if I go here, communion wafers, here you go. You can buy them. You can't buy a whole box. They're not that expensive either. 100 pre-filled communion cups and wafers. So these are little cups full of wine, and the wafers, the wafers. You can get 500 of them, but it's grape juice. It's not wine. They're very wee. I think those are a lot smaller than the ones you used to get at our church. And
That's inflation for you.
and it is in a little plastic cup, like kind of the milk that you put in your tea, but obviously on the lid of it, it just says, "This is my body, which is broken for you to eat. Do this in remembrance of me." And then
I always thought it was a bad time to bring that up just before you ate it.
it's transubstantiation.
That the thing where Professor McGonagall turns into a cat.
Exactly. This is the real body and blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. It looks like, according to this here, if you buy it, it's $175 if you buy, like, I think 2 boxes. So $80 US. Get all that stuff. But you see, without it being blessed by an actual priest, it's really just some not very tasty bread. So don't do it.
It'd be much easier to just steal some from your local church.
Yes, as Noel McDonald said, it takes several years to become an airline pilot, but it only takes a few seconds to steal an airline pilot's jacket and hat. All right, we digress. We're going long here. So Ned says, "Just kidding," about the line about stealing the communion wafers. And Lisa's not happy with this. She's scowling. "Bart, do you notice anything different about Ned Flanders?" Everyone else quite into it,
Homer looks super into it.
Who does?
Homer.
Homer's well in there, right next to him, and the family's talking. Classic side of the Maude shot, not very duckish. Badly drawn. Rod is still hugging. Todd, sorry. Rod's nowhere to be seen, and a very dodgy Wiggum.
It's Todd looking more like Rod than he ever has.
"I'm more rodded than I've ever been before," says Todd.
More Rod than Todd. It's weird that Lisa full names him at his funeral. Like,
anything different about Ned Flanders? They said, "Anything different about Ned?" And the Bart would have said, "Which Ned?" And they would have said, "Ned Flanders. Oh, Ned Flanders, our next door neighbor. Yes. The person whose funeral we are currently at."
Yeah, even that would have taken 2 more speech bubbles in this panel and made it at least 4% funnier. Lovejoy looks very smug.
Very smug. They're all happy that, he's back to life. Wiggum's got his fist clenched, ready to clock him. Should things not go as planned. He's even got his thumb tucked in so that he doesn't break it on contact. Maude, can't tell a lot from this. It's not a good drawing of Maude. However, what is clear is that she's fully accepted that this Ned is Ned, and she's happy that he's back.
She is.
Lost it then. I went off the panel. That's a bad Willy. Oh, that's a bad Willy. All right, let's get back on track. This is taking an appropriate amount of time.
It has.
So then we cut over, I imagine, a whole bunch of stuff, and Bart's scowling at the family, and we've got the glee lines and everything, and Maude is hugging with a very wide-eyed, fun look, and little hobgobbling Rod and Todd with their eyes closed. Bart, he's not going to let this go, and he's all ready to work out what's going on with this Ned Flanders character.
Yeah, we only missed one panel where Lisa basically says she doesn't think it's Ned. I made the same note about the stink lines, but I call them Bible lines. Classic Maude fashion. She's out of the story after this. It turns into a whole something to like Bart and Wolf Castle and Sideshow Bob and Kang and Kodos are all involved in this story somehow. But Maude is gone after this, except for one brief reference. But this is cute. Nice little cute family moment. You got Todd's little Skinner eyes again, but Maude's pretty good.
Yeah, it's classic. It's a classic. It's not high def, but they've got the artist back after their lunch break, and now they've come on and done some drawing finally. Thank goodness that Maude doesn't appear anymore, so that we can be left with our incomplete and somewhat abstract understanding of this story. That's the way I like it. And so then we cut, I guess, to the next day or two, where we see the Simpsons kids drinking a squishy, and we see Ned spray painting something. Obviously, there's an El Barto there. But then the caption says it was obvious that someone or something was affecting him. Sure, it may have been overexposure to some ultra-conservative radio personality, or possibly a lack of fiber in his diet, but I'm willing to bet it was due to some kind of unexplained phenomenon. And Ned is spray painting in broad daylight for a good time called Maude onto the wall.
Yeah, I don't know whose narrative that is. Like, I don't know whose thought bubble that is. Sounds like Lisa more than Bart, but we're not in A grade writing here, so it could be Bernice Hibbert for all we know. I've only seen that for a good time call blank in one other place in The Simpsons before. I think my brain is telling me it's in the B-Sharps episode on the roof. Would you like to guess who the other name is?
Edna.
Correct. So once again, these two characters aren't as unconnected as we thought.
Maybe they're even more connected. For a good time call trope, I just keep getting that garbage movie.
Justin Long movie.
Just the garbage Lauren Miller Rogan and Justin Long vehicle. But
I do like
tropes, bathroom stall graffiti. That's the end of the things I want to say about the bathroom stall graffiti. Other than it's a classic trope.
It is. I was exactly right, which is nice for me. It's on the roof of the B-Sharps for a good time called Edna Krabappel.
Nice. Also sprayed by Ned?
Probably. It's been done.
So that brings us to the end of the Bongo Cast content. What do you got to say about that?
All very good. I'm glad we focused on this one sort of long. This is her longest appearance. The other one, obviously, with her cousin Morgana.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't her, but that was the other sort of long one. So we've covered the two longest bongos now, I think, which is nice. There's still some gold, way more gold than you could ever imagine, but I'm glad we looked at this one. And yeah, it's nice to do the alive ones while she's still alive.
Yeah, it's cool. And I imagine that, you know, even the most hardcore of Maude fans won't really know this stuff very well.
No, I hope we're impressing all 7 of you.
So we've gone long there. Jeff Apple he's mumbling in his sleep. Can you hear what he's saying?
He just keeps mumbling about the bag. Take the bag off.
Later. Mick Jagger, call Mick Jagger.
Have you been giving him enough oxygen?
Give some.
We're just gonna leave him and get a good solid 8 to 9 hours sleep. That's what Jeff Apple to be able to run his multi-conglomerate corporation.
Just cram a few communion wafers up his nose, and we'll call it a night.
Call it a night. So, do you want to do a quick page from the diary before we call it a day?
Yes. There's two pages here stuck together, so I'm just going to read them.
Okay.
Dear Diary, it's me, young Maude, aged, 7 or whatever. I'm going staying with my cousin Sarah for a week in her hometown of Springfield, in that state that my mum keeps mentioning, that thingy state. Yeah, that one. And we're going to go to the cinema. She said it'll be fun because the sweets are really cheap. So we went to the cinema. This is some time later now. I just stopped writing and carried on right now. And some little creepy boy with stink lines was throwing sweets at us. And I was terrified, so I ran out, and a man called Mr. Burns said, "Hello, would you like to earn $20? And I said, sure, what do I need to do? And he gave me some eggs, and he says, "Do you see that lunch lady over there who's 20 years old or something? You need to go and put these eggs in her eyes And I said, I can't do that. And he said, if you don't do it, I'm going to stab you right here, right now. And then the pages just all like stuck together. And it just says, we got home from the Krusty Brand Fun Factory. I'm knackered. Homer looks bad in that dress. He's an idiot. I don't like him. I owe Mr. Burns a box of eggs.
The end.
All the kind of abstract nonsense they would expect from a Bongo Cast diary. No threats of violence this time, thankfully. And mostly she seems to have just described kind of the exact things we've just seen here, which is a very good find, so well done. And yeah, we were right, she was visiting, and she got a run-in with Mo, and I wonder if years later she looked back and realized that the boy who pelted her with candy was the same malevolent bar owner.
She probably recognized the smell more than the visual.
I imagine so. But a nice diary. It's good to hear from her on a calmer day. Nothing bad happened. It was nice. It was a good night.
Mr. Burns threatened to stab her at the age of like 7.
A bit of threat of violence, but that's the kind of thing that Maude lives with on a daily basis. And the egg pelting, did she go ahead with it? Did she do it?
I guess we'll never know. The pages, to be fair, the pages look like they're stuck together with the yolk. So something happened with these eggs.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't know if she's the kind of girl that would egg somebody, but we don't know that much about Maude's personality early on. We know that when she was in her teens, she was a big fan of Jesus, but that doesn't mean she didn't do the odd egging.
No, she could have seen it as a means to an end.
She very well could have. Well, that's all we got time for today. So that was a real good run of a show and lots of coolness. So we finish up with a song?
Yes.
Who's going first?
Me. Very good time.
At the Springfield Multiplex.
Ned Whittles.
Pelting her with candy.
Edna front row.
Spencer Wiggum and Frank his dad.
Do not mistake coincidence for fate, John.
The worst kind of Willie.
I speak to the log speaks to me.
Krusty Brand Extravaganza.
Good for her, he has no right.
Diddly diddly, she's ruined everything.
Affirmative olive oil stance.
No Grammys, no chocolate, no marshmallows. I'm running off into the woods to die.
Levan winged outfit.
Blasphemy and accordions. Blasphemy and accordions.
Uta.
Oh, I'm shining this light into my face. It's a sign from God, the sun god.
Ra.
Rah.
The end.
Nuclear war. It's a mother lover. Yeah. Nuclear war. It's a mother lover. If they drop that bomb, your ass gotta go. And if they push that button, your ass gotta go. Yeah, and 35 shows in, and we're showing no signs of popping. Take it away, son of Sonny Bono.
Exactly. Oh, also, Jeff Apple can breathe predominantly through his ears, and they are out of the bag, so I think he's going to be okay.
Nice. Let's just have a little listen before we go. Mick Jagger, oh, Laika, call Mick Jagger. Well, that's kind of weird dreams that you'd expect from a billionaire online store owner.
Yeah, like a mobile, I'm assuming.
Well, if you're still with us, good work, well done. This was a test, and we'll see you episode 6 next time when we're gonna get asked if we can borrow a tool.
Goodbye.
Bye.